On est du coup sur Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, les gens. J'ai fait la découverte hier soir sur mon live et on a découvert plein de choses. On a commencé d'ailleurs par refaire un peu du jeu classique. Donc c'est quoi Stanley Parable pour ceux qui connaissent pas, hein, c'est du coup un jeu dans lequel on a un narrateur, on peut suivre ce que dit le narrateur, on peut en dévier, le narrateur s'adapte, on peut essayer de finalement, on cherche les secrets, les différentes fins du jeu, tout ce qui peut être caché. C'est vraiment un jeu de curiosité et d'exploration des différentes options qu'on a, même faire demi-tour, revenir sur ses décisions, ce genre de choses. Il y a beaucoup, c'est un jeu de choix, tout simplement. Et donc ils sont sortis la version Ultra Deluxe, qui est donc à 14,66€ si vous avez déjà Stanley Parable, et 22€ si vous l'avez pas encore. C'est un excellent jeu de base, hein, il est connu pour être très bon. Si vous aimez ce style-là, ça change un petit peu, c'est innovant. Et dans Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, vous avez du nouveau contenu qu'on va aller directement voir. C'est pour ça qu'en fait je refais un live dessus ce midi là, pour finalement faire un truc où on va tout de suite voir le nouveau contenu. Ce sera plus intéressant, je pense, pour les gens qui regardent en rediff sur YouTube. Et pour vous sur le live, si vous étiez pas là hier, eh bien écoutez, on va aller voir ça ensemble. Du coup là, je suis sur justement un menu différent. Et vous allez voir, quand on recommence le jeu, là je vais remettre de zéro, et bien ça commence sur le menu classique. Si du coup je vais au bon endroit pour reset, hop, c'est parti. Comme ça en plus vous allez voir les petits trucs au niveau du menu, même quand vous relancez le jeu, il se passe des trucs et tout. Hop. Donc là, on vous pose des questions qui sont tout à fait banales, mais par exemple, si vous relancez le jeu, il va vous poser des questions qui n'auront vraiment rien à voir, quoi. Comme ça, hop. Là, par exemple, il demande de régler l'heure. Oh, c'est dommage, on n'est pas en PM de toute façon. Hop. Est-ce qu'on attend une minute ou est-ce qu'on... Est-ce qu'il est 7 heures là précisément. Hop. Et après, quand vous allez relancer, par exemple, il va vous dire... ah, vous avez re-réglé l'heure parce qu'il vous redemande l'heure et tout. Et en fait, même ça, c'était du... C'était un truc rigolo, en fait. C'était pas du tout des réglages, ce qu'on vient de faire. On est sur le menu classique de Stanley Parable, normalement. Donc là, on pourrait faire le processus classique. On va voir l'histoire, d'ailleurs. Mais nous, on va bien sûr essayer d'aller vers le nouveau contenu.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Et donc là, ça y est, on peut jouer. Et déjà, une des premières choses que je pourrais faire, par exemple, je pourrais fermer la porte. Ça fait une des fins du jeu. Il y a plusieurs fins comme ça. Et quand je vous disais Ultra Deluxe, il y a du nouveau contenu. Il y a du nouveau contenu à la fois en termes de secret et en termes de chemin. Et
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Vous voyez, là, il a décidé d'aller à la meeting room. Mais moi, si j'ai envie, je peux décider de ne pas y aller. Et je vais vous montrer le petit truc que j'ai montré hier, qui est lié à un achievement. Ça, c'est un easter egg, comme ça, vous aurez tous les aspects un petit peu du jeu.
Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the achievement?
Voilà.
Click a door 5 times. Is that all that you think an achievement is worth? No, 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 no. I can't just give these merits away for such little effort. A measly 5 clicks. Now suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition. I have to say I'm still not feeling the satisfaction of witnessing true effort for a noble cause. Perhaps 50 clicks will do it. Yes, almost certainly 50 clicks.
Donc ça, c'est un secret, hein, complètement.
No, I'm still not feeling it. I want this achievement to have meant something. It has to be a true reward for valiant effort. I want to see some hustle, Stanley. I want to see commitment, a willingness to go all the way, no matter what the cost. Why don't you go put 20 clicks into door number 417?
Et ça, c'était déjà dans le jeu de base, hein, c'est pour ça que j'ai pu le montrer hier. Mais je trouve que c'est une bonne façon de montrer comment fonctionne le jeu. Elle est là.
Oh, great. Now, go click a few times on door 437.
Oh, je l'ai raté.
Excellent. I think we're getting somewhere. Now, door 415. Let's give it 10 clicks or so.
Et du coup, vous l'aurez compris aussi, le jeu se moque un peu des codes. Bien entendu. Notamment là, par exemple, des succès.
Now, back to door number 437.
Des succès qui vous demandent de faire des process un peu trop... soit trop easy, soit justement trop tordus. Il avait dit, c'est là.
Let's see. How about you click on, well, I don't know, the cop. All right, back to room 417. I'm really feeling it now. I think we're getting somewhere. Okay, now go climb on employee 419's desk. Yes! This is great! You're putting it all on the line, Stanley. I like that. All right, let's keep it up. Go give me a few clicks on door 416. We've almost got it! Now the copy machine, do that one again!
Il est si à fond.
Finish it off, Stanley! 5 clicks on door 43. Yes! We did it! Oh, wow. That felt amazing. Oh, you really earned it, Stanley. Nothing could hold you back. Yes, I'm very proud of how far we've come today. Just think, only a few minutes ago you believed an achievement was worth 5 little clicks. Really now, what were you thinking?
Donc voilà, ça c'était le petit truc rigolo à montrer tout de suite pour ceux qui ne connaîtraient pas le jeu.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Et ça c'est donc le deuxième intérêt, voilà. Je pourrais aller à gauche, suivre ce qu'il dit, ou je peux aller à l'inverse. C'est d'ailleurs ce qu'on va faire.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Donc je ferai une ellipse d'ailleurs, parce que du coup j'ai fait la vraie fin à l'instant. Et du coup on va en faire une autre, c'est celle de fermer là.
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure.
Normalement, au
What
bout
if he
de
had to
voilà,
make a decision?
2-3
What if a
versions,
crucial
on devrait
outcome
débloquer
fell
la
under
nouvelle
his
porte, tout
responsibility?
simplement.
He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go anywhere except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
Hop. On va revenir au menu, puisque j'ai lu que ça aidait à ce que ça déclenche bien les loops. On sait jamais. On va vérifier ce qu'on a, sinon on fera une troisième boucle, hein, y a pas de souci. J'ai encore de la ressource pour faire des trucs différents.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Et ça y est, on l'a. Le nouveau contenu. Donc voilà, donc je redis du coup, puisque j'ai dit des bêtises juste avant. J'aurais mis un timer normalement de toute façon dans la rediff. Pour accéder à ce nouveau contenu, si vous venez de lancer le jeu, il faut quand même avoir fait 2-3 boucles avec n'importe quelle fin, ce que vous voulez, voilà. Et je sais pas si le paramètre qu'on dit au début, si on a déjà joué ou non à Stanley Parable Impact. Quoi qu'il arrive, il faut avoir fait assez de loops. N'hésitez pas à faire retour au menu, du coup, comme je viens de faire quand vous avez fini, pour avoir cette porte au lieu de la porte 416.
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
D'ailleurs, la porte 416 se retrouve là, du coup. Let's go! Enfin, je peux enchaîner sur la suite. Tout va bien.
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content. Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure. Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's
Ça me fait que je sache pas ce qui va se passer, du coup. Il est en mode, allez, let's go!
I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Gimme the content, Stanley.
Salut Camille.
All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
Il y a votre commentaire si parce que j'ai envie de garder mes sauts pour un truc d'après.
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right? Goodness, another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh, wait. There's more. Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is. That's it? You've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, Why don't we just reset the game, and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Je vous rassure, c'est pas que ça le nouveau contenu, hein, bien entendu. Obviously. Bon après-midi, Maxi.
Psst! Stanley! Come over here! In the vent! I want to show you something! Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past, and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look.
Et ce passage-là, j'ai trouvé ça très stylé.
The Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC. You see, Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013 when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
Et du coup, un truc que j'avais remarqué hier qui était assez rigolo, c'est qu'ils ont été nommés au BAFTA, mais ils n'ont pas eu de prix, ils ont été nommés dans 4 catégories. Et du coup, là, ils ont rajouté Stanley Parable sur le prix. J'ai trouvé ça trop cool, ça, ce musée-là, comme ça. Trop, trop bien. C'est 10 ans maintenant d'ailleurs dans Ultra Deluxe, c'est plus 5. Vous pouvez changer la date de votre ordi, ça fonctionne. Ah, vous voyez, c'est ça leur nomination. Ça, c'est une des fins du jeu. Pas très joyeuse d'ailleurs.
Je suis dans la... And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
On est allé vérifier hier, hein, ces articles existent réellement, c'est les vrais articles. Bien entendu. Ça, j'étais triste que ce soit un peu pixelisé et tout. C'est marrant en vrai, il devrait en mettre plus.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone, to spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
Serious Room, c'est aussi un truc qu'on pouvait faire dans le jeu. Ça demandait de mettre des arguments différents de lancement sur Steam.
These were simpler times,
J'ai même pas capté hier.
But I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh no. Oh God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
On sent bien le truc. Hein. Et d'ailleurs, comme je disais hier aussi, je trouve que quand ils font des remasters, ils devraient tous inclure un petit truc à part, un petit chapitre à part, un petit truc comme ça, qui montre l'aventure qu'a suivi le jeu, quoi, sa sortie, etc. En vrai, c'est marrant parce que du coup, ça reste comme ça reste dans le dur, quoi qu'il arrive sur Internet. Et du coup, c'est pas mal, j'aime bien. On a vraiment tout le petit historique avec le positif et le négatif.
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Ils sont dans des caisses d'avis. C'est vrai, je ne vois pas les recommander.
Okay, let's see what this one
C'est normal, hein. Il faut le positif et le négatif.
While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
Bien sûr que si. C'est très bon jeu.
What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Il a très mal pris.
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations. Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right. Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? It's not unendurable by any means, but it's, well, there's really only so much I can ramble on to myself about. I know, it's shocking, isn't it? But at any rate, I do suggest... Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer, and my God, there's no way... Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through.
Là, c'est triste, il parle plus, hein. C'est hyper déprimant. Reviens. Et puis de pile.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs-down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability. It's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are speaking into the world. As though there were no consequences for a lack of cohesion in one's assessment of our...
Mais j'avais oublié que je pouvais passer. Tout simplement.
The end is never the end, is never the end, is never the end, is never the end, is never the end.
On l'a cassé, les gens.
The end is never the end, is never the end, is never the end, is
Passage assez bas, non? J'ai trouvé ça très joli comme ça. C'est apaisant. Ça, beaucoup moins apaisant, là. Beaucoup moins d'un côté apaisant. Je vais finir en outre-terre, là, vite. Hop. C'est good, les gens. Enfin, vitef, quoi. C'est compliqué. Bienvenue. Bienvenue. Salut Cynthia.
A soft wind blew outside and perhaps rain started, and if it did, it stopped shortly after. Stanley hoped that he would one day see weather.
Hop! Deuxième phase du nouveau contenu.
Oh good, you notice my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
On aurait du mal à le rater. Hein. En même temps.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this Ultra Deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark. and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this Ultra Deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2.
Boom.
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for. Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
C'est pour ça Netflix l'a dire. Paf! La convention Stanley Parable 2, les gens.
Here we are. Go on. Try out some of the new features.
Et du coup, là, on va nous présenter justement des new features dont certains vont finalement s'intégrer dans l'histoire principale ensuite, en fait. C'est ça le délire de la Ultra Deluxe. Allons au bouton qui dit notre nom.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
Jim.
Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim, seizing all of the world's possibilities as Jim, and as Jim watching your dreams crumble into dust. Do you feel it deeply? Are you really, truly Jim right now? If so, then please step forward and press the button.
Jim.
Yes! You see? What a thrill! What a rush! That was you! The button described you. Do it again. Do it again.
Jim.
Oh, it hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money. Let's take a break from the Jim button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation.
Jim.
Whoa there, cowboy. Sometimes a person can be too much Jim. I'm putting the Jim button away. Otherwise, soon you'll start to lose all sense of who you actually are.
Il m'a enlevé mon bouton Jim. Juste déception. Je pensais m'appeler Jim. Je commençais à y croire. Ils sont immenses les pièces. On se croit à la Gamescom.
I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable 2. That would actually save me the work of finishing this feature.
Salut Jimao.
An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, yes, it would go
C'est
at the
toi
end of
Jim,
the...
c'est ça?
Well, we'll figure that out later.
T'es été invoqué. Ça c'était fermé hier, ouais ça l'est toujours. Mais je sais qu'il y a un achievement qui consiste à bouger tous les curseurs. Par toutes leurs positions. On peut le faire, hein. Je vais remettre à 62, hop. Il y en a qu'il faut activer, désactiver pour les voir affichés. Peut-être ça va ouvrir la porte, je me dis. Aucune idée pour la manette, vu que je joue à la souris. Qu'est-ce qu'il faut pas faire, les gens? Hop. Bah j'ai tout fait là. Ça a pas suffi. Oh non. Yep, killeuse. Ça n'a pas suffi. Qu'est-ce que j'ai mal là? Ah, faut peut-être aussi faire ça comme ça. Tous les clics-clics. Je sais pas. En tout cas, on est censé passer par tous les paramètres pour ensuite... Ah, peut-être là. Pour ensuite avoir le succès. Et je pense que ça s'ouvre ici, du coup, après. Terrible. Terrible, terrible. Alors. On va aller voir là-bas. Attends, il y a un truc là.
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with? You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Get Well Someday it is.
C'est plus joli en vrai comme ça.
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No. No,
Ils ont
I've
fait des
made my
t-shirts
decision,
carrément.
we're moving on.
Faut qu'ils les sortent. Alors, qu'est-ce qu'on n'a pas encore fait? On n'a pas fait le achievement, on n'a pas fait le jump. C'est pour ça que j'avais gardé
You
les
know
sauts.
what, Stanley? I actually think the jump circle was a pretty good idea. I'd like to hang on to that for the sequel.
C'était passionnant le jump circle.
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential. Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
Du coup, Killeuse, le but en fait, alors là c'est un peu, on va tout droit un petit peu parce que c'est pour débloquer le nouveau contenu. Mais normalement le but du jeu à la base, il est en mode, tu fais les différentes fins et les différents easter eggs du jeu en fait. Il y a beaucoup de chemins que tu peux emprunter. Et le narrateur, à chaque fois, il s'adapte. Il dit, oui, Stanley, il est passé par la porte de gauche. Si tu prends la porte de droite, il dit, bon, en fait, Stanley, il voulait aller en pause, nanana. Tu vois? C'est assez... le tryhard pour accéder à cette statuette, d'ailleurs. Aide. Mais c'est très rigolo, du coup. Grâce au narrateur, qui est très drôle. On va essayer d'avoir les 6, hein, ce serait bien. J'ai pas eu les 6 hier. J'en ai eu 5. Et tu vois, ça se moque un peu, là, il s'est moqué de quand tu ramasses des trucs dans des jeux. C'est arrivé d'ailleurs récemment, hein. Ça m'est arrivé sur... c'est dans... Comment il s'appelle? Ghostwire. T'as rien à gagner de ramasser tes trucs. Ah si, tu peux les donner à... un marchand, je crois. Mais bon, t'aimes bien que collectionner les trucs rapporte quelque chose, c'est quand même mieux.
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes. You see, you'll come to this lever and when you
Du coup,
pull
j'ai rien dit
it,
pour
the
Ghostwire,
achievement
ils servent
will
à
be
quelque
given
chose.
to you. It's as simple as that.
Du coup, ça, par exemple, c'est une référence. En fait, il y a un achievement qui est en mode pas obtenable. Et en fait, voilà, l'idée c'est... Alors, je sais pas encore comment, parce que là, ça va pas marcher. Mais on est vraiment capable d'obtenir normalement cet achievement, donc on doit pouvoir réparer la machine.
Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear... What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
Faut qu'on fasse le trou infini, attendez, ça c'est rigolo. Là.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium. You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top and we can continue onward.
On va bien sûr pas le faire. Déjà, typiquement, là, on a fait un choix.
Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things. Okay, Stanley, I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole. Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're ready. Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
C'est ce qu'on va faire.
Oh, for heaven... You see, I was right. The problem is you. The problem is that you like holes too much. Not normal. A normal person would have said, yep, that's an infinite hole right there, goes on forever till the end of time. Don't need to see it all, but not you. Oh, no, 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 no. You have a weird sort of... Oh. Did the hole seem even shorter to you this time? I couldn't help but feel like you spent a little less time in there than you did before. I mean, admittedly, I didn't make an infinite hole, but I didn't think it was that not infinite. Well, I suppose once again there's nothing to do here. If you decide you've had enough of the hole, you can hit the teleport button and come join me up above.
Et tu vois, la killeuse, c'est tout l'intérêt vraiment du jeu, c'est essayer de faire des choix qui vont titiller le jeu, qui vont le mener dans des...
Had enough? I'm positively thrilled.
Des trucs inattendus.
I really do have so much more to show you and to talk about, and I've had enough of the hole for a lifetime. Gosh, how could I have guessed? You're back in the hole. If this starts to become a thing where... Wow. Okay. Yes. I'm starting to become extremely certain that the whole is not only not infinite, but that it's growing steadily less and less infinite. I suspect that I'm starting to hit the point where it's no longer feasible to call the whole infinitely deep, even by the lax overall standards for accountability in marketing. What's going on here? Stanley, I have no explanation for the uncertain nature of the whole's length. Here, let's try something. Let's pop back up to the top, and we'll see if it gets any shorter. Well, there it is. The shame of my lie has come to haunt me. Not only is the whole not infinite, but it's barely even a hole at this point. It's more of a concavity, or even a very aggressive divot. How is this still appealing to you? I know you're obsessed with holes, but at this depth, I just can't see this scratching the itch. Oh, who am I to judge? You just do whatever it is you're here to do and hit the teleport button when you're ready to move on. Is the teleport button not working? You sure? Well, I mean, I really don't have an explanation. It was working just a moment ago. Try it again. Still nothing? Well, I suppose there is one thing I can do to fix this. I'm out. Goodbye, Stanley. You couldn't bear to be away from the hole, and now you'll get more time with it than you could ever have asked for. It's a win for everyone. You get to be with the hole, I get to do literally anything else. Take care, Stanley. I hope you and the hole have a wonderful rest of eternity together.
Obscur. À l'aide. Adieu. Adieu. Je sais. Au revoir. Moi aussi, je vous aimais les gens. Il est pas bien là? C'est moi. Ce son-là, c'est quelque chose quand même. Ça fait très peur. Y'a pas de chien. Sur la tête, c'est quelque chose. Comme ça, hop. Il est bien fait comme ça. Parle à l'envers, mais je me demande ce qu'elle dit.
Stanley? Stanley?
Oui, on est en plein trip là.
Oh good, you're awake.
Excuse-moi.
It seems you had sort of dozed off there, drifting away into dreamland. But we can't have that, Stanley, because this hole is just so darn fascinating that I want you to be wide awake for every second of it. You don't want to miss a single moment. So how about if I just pop in from time to time and wake you up to keep you really truly focused on the whole? From the looks of things, you and I will have many, many years here in this hole, and I'm looking forward to all of them. Stay alert, Stanley. I'll be back. Toodle-pip.
Touloulou. C'était quoi ça? Touloulou. Non. Ah.
Here we are. Go on. Try out some of the new features.
Qu'est-ce qu'on a pas fait? On n'a pas fait le réassurance bucket.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try.
Il dit ça en mode tentation, essaye le saut. Et le saut, du coup, quand on l'aura, si on le prend dans les parties, ça changera en fait les chemins qu'on connaissait déjà du jeu original. Enfin, ça changera pas le chemin, ça changera les dialogues, ce qui se passe.
Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
So.
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Il y avait un truc là-haut. Là. Et comme ça on aura tout fini. On pourra sortir. Ah mais c'est juste l'épilogue. Alors où est la sortie? Elle est près de l'entrée en fait. Si je dis pas de bêtises. Ah non, elle est là. Elle doit être là. Salut Vermine.
All right. Have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now? So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay, are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2.
Oh, il y a une statuette. Mets-moi la statuette.
Well, I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement.
Là, il a vraiment juste mis tous les éléments et basta.
Yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2." Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Tada! Mais du coup, on a vraiment un nouveau menu. Ça y est, on a officiellement débloqué toutes les nouvelles fonctionnalités de Stanley Parable 2. Et du coup, eh ben, on peut jouer le jeu dans sa nouvelle version. Avec donc notamment les collectibles qu'on va essayer de tous trouver. Avec le saut qu'on peut prendre pour changer les fins.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Je vais prendre le seau avec moi.
Stanley picked up the bucket.
On a mis le seau.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy? It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Oh, no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends? That your relationship is purely superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together. Go through each of them point by point. Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it.
Alors en vrai, mon saut, il n'est pas censé avoir les stickers là. C'est parce que, comme j'ai relancé une game, je pense que ça a gardé les stickers, mais on n'est pas censé les avoir.
Okay, I've got you something which I think will help settle this debate once and for all. Here we go.
Voilà, et là, il met les stickers normalement.
Now it's settled. No more debate, no more discussion. Take a hike, broom closet, with all your meandering philosophical diatribes about the nature of cleaning supplies and their relationship to broom closets in the natural order of things.
Allez, j'y vais, hein, placard à balai.
All right, I've got... Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Celle-là, on l'avait trouvée hier.
One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Allez, on va faire la vraie fin pour l'instant. Ah, le saut, si on le prend pour la fin où il se suicide, je sais pas si on l'a fait hier. Il y en a une autre ici, une statuette.
Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, you know, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini-stands? Stanley figs? Or what about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Ah, on pourrait aussi faire cette fin... Bah, j'essaye.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him?
Ah là, il dit que c'est le saut qui connaît le code.
This is certainly the most logical explanation.
Oh!
Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me. The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Oh, j'ai cru que j'avais plus mon saut.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine. Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter, his one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They hid, but at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls.
C'est pas le bucket, c'est moi.
Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds. Silly, silly birds. The control buttons became active again. Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley was happy.
Et ça, c'est clairement différent de la fin que vous avez si vous appuyez sur le bouton, si vous n'avez pas le saut. En fait, si vous n'avez pas le saut, c'est assez funeste comme ça.
How long was I sitting there? Stanley wondered to himself. Minutes? Days? Centuries? Did something crucial happen while my senses were turned? He made a note to be more careful with time from now on. Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
Bonjour.
No,
said the bucket.
Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Il me semble qu'on en avait trouvé... Voilà, on en avait trouvé une ici hier. Alors, hop. Non, par la chaise. Je dois pouvoir passer par la chaise, non? Ok, là c'est good. Ok. Good.
You're getting close now, Stanley. You've nearly gotten all of the Figler and Marines. Very soon, you'll collect the last one. And then the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them. And now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no Figler and Marines. None of us can.
Il semblait me rappeler qu'il y avait un autre truc ici normalement. Je me trompe peut-être. Je crois qu'on essaie d'aller tout en face tout simplement au téléphone aussi. Bonjour. Oh, ça m'a fait un peu peur, hein.
Okay, this is day number 295, tape number... I don't even know. I've lost track. Nothing feels real anymore. The longer I study this bucket, the less sense anything makes. The sheer euphoria I feel every time I pick it up. No matter how many times I've done it, it's always the same feeling. And the emptiness in my chest when I set it down. It doesn't make sense. There's no explanation for it. I still haven't figured out why I see the world so differently when this bucket is in my arms. Why everything feels so... What do I do with this treasure? I can monetize it. Yes.
Un NFT de bucket.
It's unthinkable the amounts of money people will pay for even just an hour with the bucket. This is my golden ticket. But I have to be careful, because as soon as this gets out, there's going to be a target on my back. Even now, I don't know who might be trying to get... What's that? Who's there? Camporata.
On est vivant, tout va bien.
Wait, Stanley thought to himself. Am I sure that the orders stopped coming in? How is that possible? They never stopped. Surely I was mistaken.
On va essayer d'aller à l'endroit où normalement
The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Et ensuite on retournera au truc du téléphone. Tadadam! Ah mais j'avais pas vu ça les rayes en fait. Ouais bah ça doit être ce que j'ai dit du coup ça.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Not really.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him.
Stanley! Stanley, it's me, the bucket.
Could it truly be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket.
Come to me, Stanley. Find me.
He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out.
Triste fin quand même.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket. Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter.
Est-ce que vous avez un seau,
les gens? For this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself, my life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.
Alors, qu'est-ce qu'on va faire? On va
Even now,
retourner
Stanley's office was a distant memory. What did it look
à
like?
l'entrepôt.
There was a computer. Warmth spread through Stanley's arms. With the bucket in his arms again, he was home.
Alors,
Stanley
entrepôt.
clutched the bucket
Oh, c'est là.
tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Well, no, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
Alors,
Said the
je me
bucket.
souviens qu'il y avait un
Don't go
truc.
to the meeting
Ah, mais je peux aller
room.
là.
Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Good.
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this
sauter?
bucket was speaking to him. It
Non.
should have alarmed, but
Ah, j'ai
Stanley
raté.
feared that any path he walked
Il me semble qu'il
might
pouvait
lead to
sauter.
the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death, that they might die in one another's arms.
Il me fait rire à commenter, alors j'ai juste glissé. Enfin, je peux peut-être tomber en allant plus loin, j'ai un doute.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could
Ça
it
fait longtemps.
mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Stanley picked up the bucket and smiled. He'd never be alone again, not truly alone, not with the bucket around. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was no, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No.
Said the bucket.
Don't go to the
Je m'en lasse
meeting room.
pas de la
Go
voir.
somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift. Good.
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the
Ouais, en vrai, je
top.
dois pouvoir y
There's something
descendre
up
juste
there
comme
I
ça,
need
là.
you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how
Je
this
pensais que j'allais
bucket was
m'éloigner.
speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think
Ouais.
about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to
Nice.
him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Y'a bébès. Bienvenue.
No, stop. Look there on the wall. You see, there's a sign right there. It says,
Oh,
no
no
buckets past this
buckets.
point. Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring a bucket here? Unless, what if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness. I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment.
Qu'est-ce qu'il fait? Oh là, ça c'est nouveau du coup. Waouh. Faudra qu'on revienne sans quand même.
Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin. Item 1. Is this a bucket? Incorrect. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
C'est un peu, is this cake? Oh, is this real?
Item 2. Is this a bucket? Incorrect. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Ah là là.
Item 3. Is this a bucket? Correct. This is a bucket. Item 4. Is this a bucket? Correct. This is a tractor and not a bucket. To be honest, I just sort of put this one in here as a gimme, but I was starting to get concerned that even this might be too much for you. Thank you for not making me look like an idiot. Okay, next one. Is this a bucket? Incorrect. This is a bucket.
Ok.
Item 6. Is this a bucket? Trick question. Both. Gotcha.
Il n'explique pas.
Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere. Yes. Thank you. There's nothing here. Of course it isn't a bucket. We both know full well that nothing isn't a bucket. Wait, when I say nothing isn't a bucket, that makes it sound like I'm saying everything is a bucket, which of course is not true. Unless... Is that what you think? Answer me straight, Stanley. Are you trying to tell me that you believe everything is a bucket? You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence. And yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket? Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely. Okay, here we go.
Non, mon seau.
What happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket? Oh my God, I had no idea.
Elle est trop bien cette fin-là.
Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue, but it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go.
C'est good. Tout était un saut.
All of his co-workers were
Du coup, je
gone.
vais y aller sans le saut
What
cette
could it
fois-ci.
mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
J'ai cru qu'il n'y avait pas les portes.
When
C'est pas le
Stanley
moment.
came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. And here it was, the lounge. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Bon, celle-là, elle est bien
I
connue
think
comme
perhaps
réplique,
we've
mais
gotten
pas
off
grave.
on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've... What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
Really? Est-ce que je peux y aller cette fois-ci? Vu que j'ai plus le saut. Ah. Ah, j'ai pas regardé ce qu'il y avait marqué quand on n'a pas le saut.
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Attendez, j'ai vu un truc. Oui.
And there it is, the last
Six
Stiggly
sur
Wiggly.
six, c'est long.
Savor this moment, Stanley.
Oui.
This is a real accomplishment.
Tout à fait.
This is doing something just for the sake of doing it. Where so many people expect to be rewarded for the most trivial achievements,
J'espère
you've
quand même être
insisted
rewarded.
that a job well done is its own reward. I would tell you that I'm proud of you for collecting them all, but that would be like a reward, and we can't have that. So, instead I'll just say, it's done. We're all done here. And now we can go to whatever the hell you were doing before you hunted for figurines.
C'est un peu triste. Il m'a demandé de faire quelque chose?
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
Absolument pas.
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
Il n'y a pas la bleue. Ah, elle est là, la bleue.
All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map, because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot
Il
of
est
time
si
into
colère.
it? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what, let me take a stab in the dark at a new design and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here. Aha! You see, I knew I was onto something. Where do these flashes of inspiration come from? How did I know the game needed a third door? Well, it's instinct mostly, a calling in your gut. I really couldn't say where the idea came from, except that I felt it in my soul. You can't teach that, Stanley. Don't even try. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Ça dépend, Harry. Parce que... Oh. Genre ça, par exemple, tu vois, je me rappelle pas. Mais ce que tu me dis là, direct, je sais pas. Ça me dit rien.
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity
La dernière fois que j'ai
to give
lancé
it
le jeu,
some
c'était en
playtesting.
2017.
You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you?
C'était il y a
Perfect.
5 ans.
Let me boot it up. In this game, the baby
Ah,
crawls
c'est la fin du
left
bébé,
towards
ça.
danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours.
Voilà, et il faut vraiment jouer 4 heures
4 hours
pour
of
qu'il y
play
ait la
to make
suite.
sure it's effective. Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
J'ai pas 4 heures pour
You
le faire.
heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game, just to ease the pain? Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot. Aha! Fascinating. What do you think this game is about, Stanley? What's our backstory? What is our motivation?
Non, on l'a déjà fait.
Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose.
C'était bien, hein, comme jeu, ça.
Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
Dommage que j'ai pas mon bucket, mais j'ai pas le droit. Hop là. Les gens qui vont arriver pile poil à ce moment-là, qui vont dire bah t'étais pas censé jouer à Stanley Parable? Pourquoi t'es sur Firewatch?
Oh no. No, it can't be. It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly, block it off. Oh, thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call. You nearly wandered off into that thing. That big, open, just wandering around. No right or wrong directions. No path to follow. You can just go in any... Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game. Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls. Okay, I think this will be just the thing. Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed. Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
C'est parti. Suis-je? Attends, je suis en train
Are you
de
doing
faire
it?
ça.
Are you winning? Is this fun? Is it better than my miserable little story that I worked so hard on? Stanley, I have a thought, and I realize I'm not a sportsologist, but if one ball generates a certain amount of raw adrenal pleasure, then surely multiple balls makes for an even more euphoric sports experience. I'm going to try it out. Here comes another ball.
No.
Yes. Oh goodness, that really does feel amazing, doesn't it? Stanley, I'm like a child in a confectionery shop. I simply have to have more. I'm insatiable. More balls!
Je suis pas arrivé. Ah! Oui!
Are you enjoying this, Stanley? Are you having fun? Hold on. What are you doing? Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back.
Là, en vérité, je me souviens plus de ça. Hein. C'est le décès qui nous attend, là. Ok, c'est good. Un peu badant ici. J'aurais peut-être pas dû partir dans cette fin, c'est long. Hein. Mais en même temps, on a trouvé la dernière statuette. Ah mais c'est pour ça que ça me disait rien. Parce que là ça me dit pas... Enfin j'ai pas souvenir d'avoir fait ça. Les portes ouais. Et encore j'ai un doute d'un coup. Mais... je ne sais plus ce que...
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
Ok. Quelle aventure. Retourne dans la salle de rue. Ah.
Stanley, I'm sorry, but I have to put a pause on things. It's those figurines.
Ah.
Those figglers. I haven't stopped thinking about them since you nabbed every last one. Wasn't it just the most intrinsically fulfilling moment of your entire life? Didn't it fill you to the brim with inner richness? Yes, I know we're supposed to be telling a story, but won't you please indulge me with one more trip back to the memory zone?
Oh.
I would love nothing more than to revisit the figurines. Just one more time.
Téléphone collectiveuse.
Here's where it all began. The first collectible. Back then, we had no idea of how many of them we'd find. Sure, it said 6 right there on the screen, but how could we know for certain? We were so innocent. We'll never be like that again, Stanley.
7.
And here was a second Stanlerine. I'll be honest, back then I had no faith in you to find any of them, let alone 6. But you continue to surprise me in all sorts of mundane, unremarkable ways.
Okay.
Okay, let's do a little quiz. Which of these rooms was the room you found your third mini stand? Can you remember?
C'est marrant qu'ils aient ajouté ça.
Hey, that's exactly right.
Cool.
It was here in the boss's bathroom. It was the third one. You picked it up, and then after that, you had 3 of them. I'm glad these moments are so crystal clear in your memory, but I shouldn't be surprised. After all, science tells us that it's impossible to forget your third time doing anything. Let's see, what came next?
Ouh. Photo.
Oh yes, we found a figurine in this pink room.
C'est
well,
faux.
I can't actually say I remember being in this room, but it's here in the memory zone, so it must have happened.
Je suis contente, on a absolument pas fait ça hier. C'est cool.
This was the 5th mini stand, and this one was really something special. It was in the warehouse. I remember it so
On avait
clearly.
trouvé 5 quand même hier.
In fact, because this one is particularly special to me, I made a little video to commemorate the occasion. Enjoy.
Amazing la vidéo. Ah là là, avec les beaux assets Microsoft Office.
Takes you back, doesn't it? I spent a lot of time making that video, but it was 8 minutes I wouldn't have spent on anything else.
8 minutes, ça va. Par où je vais? Ah.
And then, Stanley, then we came to the last collectible, the final figurine, right here by the red and blue doors. This memory is the most distinct and clear in my mind, perhaps because it was the one that happened more recently than all the others. Who can truly say how the mind works? All I know is that this is the moment where you picked up a figurine and I thought to myself, yes, that's all of them. They're all collected. It was a moment unlike any other. Except for the other moments picking up figurines, which it was exactly like. And then there was no more, because we've caught up to the present moment. Nothing left to do but move onward into the future. Goodbye, memory zone.
No.
No, I'm not done. I'm not ready to move on. Stop the loading screen. Isn't there some way we can stay here, keep enjoying these figurines? Let's just go backwards. We'll do the memory zone again from the opposite direction. See how that feels. Okay, yes, the room with the red and blue doors. I remember this. I must say, of all the figurines we looked at in our initial tour of the memory zone, this one is the most distinct and clear in my mind. Let's keep going, I want more. And here's where I made that video. Don't you remember the video we watched?
Oh, il la remet. Ah, ça va, il a mis vite.
Yes, I love that video. Still don't remember the pink room, Stanley. Still no memory of this one. Good room, though. A solid room.
Ah, ça c'est celle qu'on a eu dans l'expo. Ah non, celle qu'on a eu dans l'expo, c'était l'autre. Bizarre.
These really were a treat to hunt down. You know, if there had been any kind of reward for finding all of these, it really would have neutered the intrinsic joy of collecting them. I'm very glad we resisted the temptation. Next one. This was our second Figley. Don't you remember? Yes, I remember it too. The past is truly a wonderful thing. Why does anyone ever choose to leave it? Keep going. This is it, the very first one we found in the exhibit where I introduced you to the figurines. Oh, I want more memories, Stanley. I want to keep going. What else is there?
Aller.
What came before this?
En vrai, est-ce bien nécessaire? C'est intriguant là par contre. Bah. What? Bah, y a rien d'autre? Oh là-bas le truc vert. Nouveautés. Ok.
Look, it's the terrible new content that we were originally sold on. I remember hating it back then, but time does put a rosy filter on everything.
Oh, yes, the two doors. Who could have forgotten that? A classic memory, this one. And before everything else, there was your office. Is there anything else? Was there something that came before your office? There's something I feel I can remember. I can remember. Yes, I'm remembering something now. I remember before this whole story got started. Back then I was different. I used to make big decisions. I was passionate. I was skeptical. I weighed each decision with profound thoughtfulness. And then somewhere along the way, I stopped making decisions. I became lazy. And I came up with a character named Stanley to do my thinking for me. He would make the decisions. He would decide which way to go. I would cheer him on as he collected figurines for no reason. Why did I invent Stanley? Was I lonely? Yes, perhaps that's it. Perhaps I needed to imagine I had companionship. And Stanley really did make for a wonderful companion, even if he was a fiction. But I suppose it's grown old. I want to think for myself again. I want to go back to how it used to be. Yes, I can be on my own again. I can do it. I'll be stronger this time. I'll take care of myself. I don't need Stanley anymore. Oh, but he truly was so much fun to play with. You know what? Since we're in the memory zone, how about one more good memory? Let's go back just once and give Stanley one more run of the office, and then I'll retire him for good. I did enjoy telling his story so very much. Okay, here we go. This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Ok.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
J'ai l'impression que c'est good là.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
On va quand même voir la meeting room.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Vas-y. Ok. Je relance. Hop. Ok, la capture c'est bon. Est-ce qu'il va se passer un truc avec ce qu'ils ont dit là, de reboot, machin? Quelle heure il est? 14h20. T1 maintenant. Mais ça je l'avais déjà eu. C'est pas lié à ce qu'on vient de faire. Ça je l'avais déjà eu, c'est vraiment quand vous relancez, ça fait ça. Ça a rien fait, hein. Quand tu me dis reboot de game...
All of his co-workers were gone.
Pourtant c'est marqué
What
reboot
could
quoi.
it mean? Stanley decided to go to the
À moins qu'il
meeting
faille
room.
faire tous
Perhaps he
les...
had simply missed a memo.
tous les trucs que j'ai eu par rapport à ce lancement.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ah, y a plus écrit reboot.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Recommencer, tu veux que je fasse recommencer? Ok. Et du coup là c'est trop tard de toute façon. Moi reboot c'est relancer le
All of
jeu.
his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person
Je
here
suis
either.
intriguée par le truc qui
Feeling
était
a
marqué
wave of
reboot.
disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to
J'ai
his
peur d'avoir
boss's
raté un
office,
truc.
hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Je vais peut-être faire les différents reboots. Hein. Genre, je vais vous faire les différents trucs qui s'affichent quand on fait ça. Vas-y. Toujours pareil, hein. Allez. Je vais quand même faire le truc de passer parmi tous les réglages. Hop. Normalement, j'avais eu un tas de paramètres un peu barrés, et ensuite c'était good. En fait, j'ai relancé le jeu pour avoir les succès qui étaient liés à ça. Attends, hop. C'est mignon, en vrai. Oui. Comme ça m'aura permis de vous montrer ces écrans-là aussi. Ok. Je vais relancer encore une fois. Par contre, dans ce Ultra Deluxe, il y a tellement de trucs que tu fais qu'une fois en fait. Travail terminé. Si vous pouvez me trouver. Lui aussi, il est intriguant. Oh my god. Ça faisait un truc si on faisait tous les... On l'avait pas avant parce que j'avais déjà fait toutes les interactions sur ma partie d'hier soir. Les interactions qu'on vient de faire en intro. Donc si vous avez fait toutes les interactions et que vous avez fait toutes les figurines, ça débloque ce truc. Let's go! Ah! Trop bien. Ah, mais il est à la zone dans le désert. Alors, je dis trop bien, mais j'allais dire que ça serait va rien se passer. Oh! On aura fait des secrets, hein, bien, hein. Nice. Ça part en stock. Un champ de choses mortes, hein. Ils en ont combien des versions comme ça? Oh, c'est le truc des souvenirs. Let's go. Du coup, le live va commencer vers midi à peu près, en fait, pour répondre à ta question. Non, c'est marqué en bas du live. Combien de temps ça fait? Il me semble. Sinon, tu fais uptime. Point d'exclamation, uptime. C'est un peu tristounet, cet épilogue là. Je sens qu'on va retrouver le narrateur, j'espère. Et pas fantôme dans The Witness. Je suis déçue de cette suite. Là où le jeu d'origine brillait par son originalité, Stanley Parable 2 est ennuyeux, sans inspiration, mais souvent insultant à l'égard de ses fans. Plutôt que de surfer sur ce qui avait fait le succès du premier jeu, la suite nous emmène vers des territoires qui n'intéressent personne. Un trou sans fin, qui ça intéresse? Publié le 27 avril, c'est le jour de la sortie du jeu. Où sont les nouvelles fins? Les séquences amusantes, comme la ligne d'aventure. Le sort nous sert une quête annexe un peu inspirée à base de collecte de figurines. Après, toutes les figurines ne vous rapportent rien. Réception critique désastreuse de l'échec commercial et Stanley Parable. Ils sont partis loin. Le communiqué de presse poursuit en promettant de préserver l'intégrité artistique du jeu original et d'arrêter d'agresser fans par nos visions créatrices inconsidérées et insultantes. Le mot désolé apparaît plus de 25 fois dans le communiqué. Tout ça est faux, les gens, hein, bien entendu. 9 juillet, on y est pas encore. Hein. Une approche très particulière d'ailleurs, cet épilogue. Oh, les
Jim.
Jim.
Stanley. Jim. Stanley.
Ah là là, il y a le bouton Stanley.
Jim.
Mes petites figurines, toujours là. J'avais vraiment 4 milliards. Hein. J'ai tout. On voit rien là. Ah. Rebonjour. Ravi de vous voir. Mais c'est horrible d'apprendre qu'un nouveau jeu Stanley Parable ne verra jamais le jour. Et vu ce que les développeurs ont dit, préserver l'intégrité de la franchise. Quel ramassis d'idiotie. Il y a eu besoin de le protéger. On va créer Stanley Parable 3. Il s'est changé le numéro, c'est écrit un titre. Alors, Stanley Parable 3, qu'est-ce qu'on pourrait mettre? Il y a vraiment plein de... J'aime bien les poches pleines de nourrissons. Ah non, peine. Du coup, c'est moins marrant. Mais c'était ça que je voulais mettre, ouais. Je vais quand même mettre ça parce qu'il doit y avoir juste une faute. La machine à succès est réparée. De jamais s'arrêter, de jamais s'arrêter. Je filme mon live à un moment. C'est dommage qu'il y ait la faute. Oh, il y avait... Mais ouais. Et du coup, en fait, tu peux refaire et mettre un autre titre. J'imagine que c'est ça l'idée. Ya. Si je vais commencer... Il a dit que la machine était réparée, mais il faut pouvoir retourner la machine. La machine à succès.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ah, on peut retourner. Ah, on peut retourner. No way. Ils s'en est passé des trucs là avec les figurines. On passera sur le numéro 4 si on recommence, peut-être. En vrai, c'était long. Après, ça dépend si ça refait les trucs du désert et tout. C'est ça, c'est relou un peu quand même.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable. and about how roundly disappointing this Ultra Deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this Ultra Deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2. Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for. Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
Alors, c'est là. La machine à succès. Il y a peut-être aussi là-haut le... Attendez. Non, toujours pas.
Now, here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes, you see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the achievement will be given to you. It's as you can see, the machine is not working yet since... What? Wait, what in the holy hell is going on? You got the achievement? Why did the machine work? Stanley, I didn't fix it. I didn't do anything to it. I swear, it was broken just a second ago. Who fixed it? Is someone here? Are we being watched? Oh, God. Composure, composure. Yes, as you can see, the machine is working as normal, as I intended. It truly speaks to the awe-inspiring magic of the Stanley Parable 2. Breathe. Just breathe.
Cool, on a le succès. Ça fait plaisir.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
Ok, on va juste s'en aller. Ça me semble pas mal. Parce que bon, il serait temps de conclure, hein, quand même. Je voulais que ma rediff soit pas trop longue. C'est pour ça qu'on avait refait. Au final, on a fait beaucoup plus de trucs. Du coup, ma rediff est de la même durée. Mais plus qualitative, du coup. Ceci étant.
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable... All right, have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
Ah, c'est vrai qu'il fait ça aussi.
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work.
Et si je relance Epilogue juste pour voir? On va voir ce que ça fait. Si ça refait le truc, il faut quand même faire tous les trajets et tout. C'est un peu long. Pour voir si ça fait un 4 ou quoi. Ouais, faut tout refaire. Bon, en tout cas, on aura bien rigolé. C'était nice, hein. C'était très nice. Je sais pas si je relance, si ça fait un truc. On peut essayer. On peut essayer quand même. Dernière chose. Hop. Il manque 3 succès. Est-ce qu'il dit quelque chose? On va voir. On aura fait le tour, hein. Je mets des timers du coup pour tout ça. Parce qu'au final, ça peut même aider des gens. Ah! Et ben voilà. À chaque fois que je vais relancer, ça va faire ça. Ah, c'est drôle. La légende du scorpion. Oh, mais du coup, je peux faire des fake screens. Je vais totalement tweeter ça. Et je vais dire... Ah... Ouais, j'ai eu accès à une version. Trop drôle. En vrai, je sais pas jusqu'à combien on peut l'incrémenter. J'ai envie d'essayer, ça y est. Ah, il y avait trou. On aurait pu faire la légende du trou. Effectivement. Bah bravo. Ah. L'extravagant pédiluve. Allez, encore. C'est bon, j'ai trouvé mon nouveau jeu. On a travaillé dur pour tout ça. D'ailleurs, pour ceux qui n'étaient pas là tout à l'heure, j'ai aussi fait le succès du speedrun. Il faut faire finir le jeu en moins de 4 minutes 22, avec la bonne fin. Enfin, la fin classique, pas la bonne fin, mais bon, ça reste. Le retour du fromage. C'est merveilleux, c'est merveilleux. En fait, je vais voir s'il se passe un truc à 10. Quand même. Par contre, du coup, je sais pas si je vais être un peu short pour commencer mon live à 17h comme j'avais prévu. Peut-être qu'on fera juste 19h à la sortie de Rogue Legacy, du coup, tant pis. C'est pas gênant. Nouveau, avec une pointe de goûter d'anniversaire. Mais je mettrai que le premier screen quand je vais faire mon tweet, ça fera plus vrai. Alors, j'avoue, vous avez pas au début le truc avec cro. Heureusement qu'il se lance vite, hein. La menace du bourrage papier. Oui. Ah, j'ai quand même envie de mettre lui, hein. La menace du bourrage papier, c'est quand même quelque chose. J'ai encore envie de mettre le fromage, hein. Le bébé fromage. J'aime bien. J'ai faim aussi. Il est 15h quasiment. Alors, est-ce que 10, ça fonctionne? C'est ça ma question. Tu en fais des screenshots? Ah oui, des souvenirs, hein. Non, c'est cool, j'aurai le sentiment d'avoir été au bout du truc, quoi. Même s'il y a encore quelques fins que j'ai pas faites. Ah oui, il continue, un 10. Le retour du trou. Ils ont fait tellement de variantes de l'écran en plus. Mais écoutez, bien joué. Ah par contre, oui, mince. Attendez, je relance pour pouvoir... Je vais pas finir sur un écran noir quand même. J'ai pas réfléchi. On en met un dernier du coup. Stanley Parable 11. Stanley contre le jaillissement. Oh, c'est très... très spécial. Bon, bah, c'était trop cool. Je vais Je vais mettre ça en ligne, du coup je mettrai les timers, tout ça. Je voulais vraiment faire un truc sympa pour pouvoir le partager sur YouTube et je crois que c'est chose faite. J'ai passé un bon moment en plus, on a fait les trucs des figurines et tout. C'est nice. Nice, nice, nice.